I farmed for 40-some years in St. Croix County before I retired. And two issues I want to talk to you about today. The first is the proposal to reallocate the mill tax in the current budget. And I know there's some frustration with the fact that the Forestry Services has had a dedicated source of funds from the mill tax while others have to take their cuts. But I think our forefathers had some wisdom in creating this tax. They placed it in the state constitution. It supports a lot of vital services. We have a lot of threats to our forestry industry in this state in that we have pests like buckthorn and garlic mustard and emerald ash borer, and the monies that get used to research these are vital for the future health of our forestry industry in the state. So I think we should leave that alone, just because whatever we could allocate out of that is not enough. It's only a drop in the bucket that could help to eliminate problems in other areas such as education and transportation, where we've got really huge problems. So I would say, rather than upset that apple cart that's already working well for us in the state, leave that alone. Focus on other ideas that we can do to make things better in the state. The second thing I want to talk about is the transportation budget, and specifically the road conditions in rural townships in Wisconsin. As you've heard from our Rural Townships Association, our townships all across the state are 10 to 20 years behind schedule in maintaining our public roads in these townships. Our township, Gilman Township here in Pierce County, gets to keep about 18% of its tax budget for every year, and out of that money, our township has $118,000 to maintain 48 miles of roads. We get a small allocation back from the state that amounts to peanuts, but you know how much blacktop that money will buy. And our township is trying to deal with this issue. Our citizens just recently approved a referendum, or a voice vote basically at a town meeting, to double our tax bill for specifically road services, to give us at least twice as much money to work with as we've had. But even that at $236,000 is not going to buy much blacktop for us. Obviously, with the cost of roads, we need more help from the transportation fund to help this. And I think the committee should be looking outside the box for funding sources. We've been fighting about transportation tax and what we should do with that for years here, and nothing has gotten done. One of the things they ought to consider is looking at some of the exemptions for fuel tax out there, such as agriculture. Now, I farmed. I'm in favor of breaks for people where they can get it, but we have to figure out or face the fact that agriculture has changed, and their load on these rural township roads has changed substantially. Where farmers 25, 30, 40 years ago were putting 3 and 4 tons worth of weight on an axle and going down the roads. Today we've got 60 and 80 ton semis hauling produce out of these, corn and soybeans out of these townships. We're pulling gravity boxes and wagons down the road that have as much weight per axle as a loaded semi, and pulled by machines that are as heavy as a diesel semi-tractor. And that's putting a load on our township roads that they were not built to take. And so I would question whether an exemption for fuel tax for agriculture is any longer appropriate, in that I think they put as much strain on the roads as anybody does. So we need to be looking at those kinds of ideas to fund transportation tax from where the damage and where the use is occurring. And I think there's other ideas out there like that. I would just suggest another exemption that farmers have enjoyed, the sales tax exemption. Other industries in the state don't enjoy that exemption. There are sources of tax out there for some privileged industries, and maybe we ought to be looking at some of that stuff today, given the crisis we've got to fund transportation. So I'd like to thank you for your time, and appreciate you coming out here.